Blessings, folks. Welcome back to another episode of the Hitstreak. I am your man, Nick Hyder. Folks, we are coming at you today from the heart of Music Row right here in Nashville, Tennessee. And my guest today needs no introduction. However, Ed has been on our short list of guests to bring on the show for literally about 2 years. And I couldn't think of a better time to knock it out today when we're shooting here for the very first time right on Music Row, which we're extremely excited about. So, folks, he don't need an introduction, but I'm going to give him a good one anyways, right? So check it out. He's the co-founder of CPI Stem Cells and the TAM Center, and he's the host of the Ed Clay Show. My man, a Nashville native, Ed Clay. Ed, thanks for being here today, baby.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. It's great to see you.
Well, dude, we got you've been busy.
Very busy, yes.
Been crazy busy. Folks, check it out. Ed and I literally went to elementary school together. And I want to tell at some point in time, I want to come back to it about how you did break every bone in your body in the fourth grade, I think. But literally since high school, he's reinvented himself multiple times, and every time whatever vertical he's been in, he's reached the top, even when he went on to another vertical, right? So, dude, he went from like a top UFC mixed martial MMA performer to I guess that's the right thing as an athlete, but as well as a massive he was a trainer. He owned a gym where all the main dudes would come to town to train and everything else. And now he's literally curing cancer in hospitals in Mexico, right? So Ed, I gotta ask, man, like how in the world did you get into the medical field?
Yeah, so it started kind of 2008, 2009. I was training a fighter. I tore my LCL, PCL, and meniscus, and throwing a kick. And we had team doctors. They had got me given me prescription pain pills, and I was taking them for about 2 years. I realized I had a problem. Went to stop. Went through withdrawal. Did that multiple times over about a 6-month period. Couldn't get off of it. So I went to a therapist, and I said, I'm completely functional running my companies, but I'd rather have a clear brain and deal with the pain than a foggy brain and no pain whatsoever. And he said, America's behind the times when it comes to opiate withdrawal. Google ibogaine. And so I didn't know what it was. I Googled ibogaine. It supposedly stopped 100% of withdrawal. It was the strongest psychedelic drug in the world, and came from the tabernacle of the Iboga root in Gabon, Africa. So I was skeptical, but I watched a couple documentaries. I was like, you know what? I believe those people. So let's give it a try. So I took a plane to Mexico City. I took a bus a couple hours south to a place called Tepoztlán, Mexico, at a little clinic there. Did ibogaine basically in a bedroom, and I was home 72 hours later. Never had a withdrawal. Never had a craving. And I thought to myself, well, if this can work, but isn't available in the United States, what else is out there? My mom had a rare form of rheumatoid arthritis. She filled all the standard medication. She had bad side effects, multiple staph infections, broke her back on a short fall, tuberculosis, all due to the side effects. And we ran out of options. And so I read a study on something called Coley's toxins for rheumatoid arthritis. And making a longer story short, there was a hospital in Mexico that had it, that had closed a couple years before. So Scotty and Dedrick, my two partners, and I went to find the owner of the hospital, went to a real estate agent, found the owner, bought the hospital from him, hired back a lot of the original staff. My mom was our first patient, or second patient. She came in a wheelchair, and she left 3 weeks later walking, and she's been in remission now for be 9 years, August 15th, so a little over 9 years.
Wow, praise
and
God.
So that was the catalyst, behind it, my mom being sick. And, from then, it just kind of expanded out. It was an alternative, and I do the air quotes, alternative cancer hospital before that, but we really brought in, just like MMA fighting, what works and what doesn't work. And there's something called Coley's toxins, which is the original immunotherapy. Now immunotherapy is kind of a big thing, but just 10 years ago, immunotherapy was considered quackery. So Coley's toxins was one of the things that was used, and started writing different scientists about their papers, asking questions, and did a clinical trial with a product, and they had a great board. They had a Nobel Prize winner on it, a lot of big scientists on it, and became friends with a lot of those guys, and kind of recruited them to join our board, and kind of the rest is history.
Dude, it's like when you first, like, I feel like when you were done with the gym, it was at the peak of its game. All right, so literally, I remember the bus, the big spot out over there off of not far from 100 Oaks. It was incredible, and then when you opened the clinic in Mexico, like, I'm sure everybody thought you're crazy because you have no medical background, right? At this time.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, we, when we first opened the hospital, we didn't know how to run a hospital. So we actually lived in the hospital for the first 6 months, and
Okay.
learning how to properly clean a surgery room and all those different things. You hire experts, but at the same time, we wanted to kind of immerse ourselves in it. And then it seemed like a really good idea. Looking back now, if someone were to come with an investment, say, "Hey, would you invest in?" I'd be like, "No way! It sounds crazy now." But at the time, we knew that we could make it work, and it's turned out really well.
And I've got in my notes here that you guys self-funded that whole thing at the beginning, right?
Yes, leveraged houses. It was tough. Almost been bankrupt multiple times over the last 9 years. COVID almost broke us, but you just keep fighting. Ultimately, never giving up. And there wasn't really a time, especially before COVID, that I thought we weren't going to make it, even though we didn't know exactly how. I always thought, we've come way too far to have this thing fail.
That's right.
And it's been a blessing.
It's I say it all the time. People believe things that they have to trust first, and they trust things that they've heard a lot of times.
Yeah.
Right. Trust is earned with repetition, right? Right. Even when it's not facts,
Yep.
right? So one of the things that was a couple years ago, my wife and I got involved with the National Prayer Breakfast as Tennessee delegates, and we got to meet all these amazing people from all these other countries. And the perspective that we got changed our views of everything, right? So all the stuff that we were it's called paid programming for a reason. All the stuff we were being programmed with, we learned that there was another side to the story, right? So obviously you had to go to Mexico for a reason. I don't think maybe you didn't choose that. Like if you'd probably stayed 20 miles north in Cali.
Oh yeah, I would love to be in Nashville.
There you go.
Yeah.
So let's just go right at it and just say what's the biggest thing? How come you had to go to Mexico? Is the United States actually leading the medical field like we used to be maybe?
Yeah, I think it is. But I mean, licensing in Mexico is different. And I think Tijuana, a lot of kind of breakthroughs have happened in TJ that people don't give it credit for. Like the original, what's called dendritic cell vaccines for cancer were done there, actually at our hospital originally.
Wow.
Dendritic cells got approved, I believe, in 2011 with a drug called Probinge. And there's a lot that you can do there that you can't do on the other, on our side of the border. But nobody had really gone in with the mindset that to bring in the best possible scientists that we can. And that's really what we did. And then we leveraged the licensing that we can get in Mexico. Right now we have a cellular manufacturing license in Mexico where we can make any cellular product that we want and treat patients with it. Whereas in America, just to be able to do that would take 15 years and about $1 billion to get it approved.
Right.
So we're really able to do things a lot faster, especially as technology moves so fast. We're able to really stay ahead of the curve. And hopefully our model now is to do clinical trials in Mexico and then give that data to the FDA so we can fast track a lot of these different things. And that's what we've been working on.
So when you guys first started, it was specifically aimed at cancer research, right? But that's now we're into stem cells and everything else, right?
Yeah. At first it was cancer and what I would consider a lot of alternative type things. But as we've progressed, we moved into full, science-based. People can't knock our science. We have great science. We could have a bioethical debate, which I think that's fair. Actually, we just had the head of bioethics for Mexico join our scientific advisory board to really support us with that conversation because it's an important conversation. But we're very, very heavy on science, and we built out amazing labs. We have great PhDs that work for us, graduated from Cambridge or, a lot of big, impressive schooling. On our scientific advisory board, our lead scientific advisory board member, who's the head of infectious disease and immunogenetics for the National Institutes of Health.
That's right.
And he wrote one of the main textbooks that oncologists use for immunotherapy for cancer. And so we've just pushed, the science and been very, very honest about it and with a pure heart of looking for what works and what doesn't work.
Yeah.
And I think that's really supported us to be where we're at now.
So I think it's, as an entrepreneur, the amount of, I literally had a conversation with a young entrepreneur this morning, and it's like getting them to understand that the reward is going to be traced back to the risks to some degree, right? So I'm just so curious as to your gym's at the top of its game, and then there had to have been way more voices saying cancer research in Mexico, bro, what are you doing? You're crazy. versus, but obviously you knew what you're doing and it worked, and then self-funding it, like I can only imagine starting a hospital is not cheap.
No, it's not. And, I don't have a wife or kids, which I've got a girlfriend now that's serious. But like, if I had a family that I was taking care of, I wouldn't have taken that risk. But I think that really allowed us to do that. Scotty and Dedrick don't have kids either. So,
fair.
I sold everything in 2012. And that was really because I'd lost my passion for coaching. The only thing that really I didn't accomplish was training a UFC champion. I had a lot of guys in the UFC. And then we had kind of a turnover with the team, so I was going to build it back up. And the aspect of training fighters doesn't really make a lot of money. And I was like, okay, well, if I'm not making a lot of money training fighters, and I've lost my passion, and I got to build this thing back up, why am I doing it? Just to have a UFC champion? And it just didn't make sense. So I sold Gameness, which was the clothing line, and then the gym as well. And those were both doing well.
Big assets.
But it was I just didn't have the passion to keep doing it. So. After that, my friend Lee Bryce, who's a country music musician, he's like, dude, come on the road with me. And so I lived 6 months in Costa Rica, and then went on the road with Lee after that 6 months, and then just really started figuring out what I wanted to do next. And the hospital was on the horizon, but it took a few years to figure out how to do that.
No kidding. Folks, once again, we're hanging out with Ed Clay, the co-founder of CPI Stem Cells and the TAM Center, the host of the Ed Clay Show. Keep up with them online at cpistemcells.com and theedclayshow.com, and on Instagram at edclayofficial and at Ed Clay Show. Right? So, man, dude, there's so many directions that we could go here, but I'm just going to stay. Let's start with the. I've actually got some fantastic notes on my phone right here. Let me grab those. As far as the entrepreneurship journey, so coming at, to come out of the world of mixed martial arts, owning the gym, training fighters, a clothing line, which again, big assets, selling those and rolling that into a hospital. What advice would you have again? Did you have anybody saying, go to Mexico and start a hospital?
No.
Was there,
No.
All right, so you're the lone nut, right?
Yeah.
So what advice would you have for those entrepreneurs that the risk is too large, they don't know how to gauge the return? How did you work through that math in your head?
I think you really just have to believe in yourself and the idea. Victor Hugo says an idea whose time has come can't be stopped. I think what we're doing is one of those ideas for the world, really.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people that are going to tell you can't do things for whatever reasons, but I think as long as you really believe it, of course you take advice, but you don't have to just take all the naysayers words and let it really affect you. I actually think that's part of the issues we have in society right now, where people talk about, they use words with groups like marginalized, oppressed, and I think that those, while it's well intended, the wording actually hurts people, because if people believe those things, they'll actually become that. And so I've always kept a positive mindset, said, no, I know that I can do it. I absolutely know that I can do this, and we can do it. My business partners are amazing. We had a shared vision, and we fought for it. And there's been multiple times where we should have given up, but that wasn't an option. We didn't have any other option. It was to do this. We were so all in, and we were going to make it work, no matter what. And I think, when you're opening a business, if you're going to do it kind of willy-nilly, that's one thing. Do it willy-nilly. But if you really want to be successful, you've got to be willing to work harder than everybody. You've got to be willing to take personal responsibility for what happens, not be a victim to your circumstances. That's people getting this victim mentality. I think that really, really hurts anybody who's doing that, because we pass blame. We say, oh, well, this was because of this, because of that. No, ultimately, if it's your business, it's because of you. And you've got to take that responsibility and really just have a greater belief in yourself and your team than anybody else. And that keeps the naysayers or the negativity, I would say, kind of out.
Absolutely. How important is for me, being in professional baseball, it was life-changing for me when big leaguers would be down where I was at for a little bit, just watching how they took on problems, how they thought about things, especially how they thought about money. How a lot of money to me was only a lot of money to me. It wasn't a lot of money to them, right? And how that perspective was so valuable. You got to, even people that play big, you went big on a hospital, you could say that wasn't very big compared to one where we're at now, but compared to what your competitors were even doing that then, right?
So,
Like take that a little bit further, like as far as like, again, let me just take him back a little bit. So we went to elementary school together. Dude, you were hustling when I didn't even know what hustling meant. You know what I'm saying? Like you figured out how to, the skill of making money.
Yeah.
You figured it out early. I know that your parents had a lot to do with that.
Absolutely.
Right? So, but it hadn't been all smooth sailing.
No.
Okay, so there were some bumps in the road, especially early, right, that you guys overcame, which is so inspiring because it just goes to show you, man, you get knocked down, you get up.
Yeah.
Tell the folks a little bit about the early days. Like, I'm talking like even before. I remember when you guys first got into 100 Oaks with the gym and so on and so forth.
Yeah. So I mean, I have wonderful parents, but we weren't raised. I wasn't raised wealthy at all, and there was a lot of struggle. My dad had an accident when we were 4, or when I was 4. And, lost everything, lost the house, and they really had to fight back. Took them about 10 years to do that. So I can remember, Christmases, and you couldn't buy nice tennis shoes. Those little things, but at the same time, I look back and it was, it did have an effect on me as a child in wanting to, drive to make it for myself and never have those struggles. That was the main thing that my parents might argue about was finances back then. I remember that. And so I think that was impactful. But, I got in trouble when I was 20. I got arrested on a drug charge. And that was August 2021, I believe. And my attorney told me you could let this affect the rest of your life and go down a bad path, or you can change it to a good path. It's like, it's going to be up to you. So while I was waiting, the case, and I was facing 15 years in prison.
Okay.
And then my parents mortgaged your house to pay a fine to take it from the federal level to the state level. And we made our deal 8 years, and I would have to go in front of the judge, and he would sentence me to either no time or up to 8 years. So, anywhere in between. And so we went to the sentencing hearing, but the month before I went and signed a lease on my gym and worked out a deal to start Gameness. And so actually the original owner was moving to Germany. And so I had this lease, and we go in the sentencing hearing, and I was like, no matter what I'm going to do or what happens, I'm appealing this, because that'll buy me more time. So I'm going to appeal to the appellate court and appeal to the Supreme Court, which would buy me a couple years to start my businesses and have something when I got out. And so we went in there, and it was like something you see on TV. My parents were testifying, and it was very emotional. Everybody, I think, in the room was touched by the whole thing. And the prosecutor was, when I got on the stand, was attacking. But I said, look, I'm not going to sugarcoat. This is all on me. The victims here are my parents. Right. Who are they raised a good kid. I knew better than this, and I made this giant mistake. And so I'm not putting this on anybody else. This is me. And so during the recess, the prosecutor came to us and offered me 3 years. So from 8 years to 3 years, but I had to serve right away. And I turned that down. And knowing that I had to go back in and the judge could give me 8 years. But I'm like, I got to start my business next month. I already signed this lease. And so biggest risk I've ever taken in my life, looking back. And so we went in there, and he gave me 8 months to serve. With 8 years probation, which I could appeal that. So when I appeal, he's like, the judge was shocked. He's like, I just gave you a great deal. And that was a fair deal, but he didn't understand what was behind that. So, in that time, I appealed the appellate court and the Supreme Court, but that gave me time to start building both of those businesses, and which I did. So by the time I went in, I was able to have everything going. And when I got out, had something to go out to that was positive. And, the rest with that was history. Our gym was, at one point, probably the largest mixed martial arts gym in the country, or was the largest mixed martial arts gym in the country.
It was massive.
Gameness, we were the largest supplier of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu martial arts uniforms in the world. And got to build those up and learn a lot, make a lot of mistakes. And really grow from those. And, now, 25 years into being an entrepreneur, I can say, okay, well, my 20s, I made all these mistakes. I'm glad, though, because, it's taught me this now. And, all of the obstacles to me are really blessings. God has always blessed me in the end.
Come on.
And it's been impactful knowing that now my faith is stronger than ever. I probably pray 15 times a day. God, what should I do here? God, what should I do here? Because a lot of this stuff we just don't know. We act like we know.
That's right.
And that's really kind of molded. That's how I make decisions now.
I want to thank all of our loyal fans that spread across all 50 states and 14 different countries. It's absolutely amazing. Folks, help us keep spreading the word, right? Share your favorite episodes with friends and make sure that you are liking and subscribing to the Hitstreak on all digital platforms. Thanks again, and we look forward to more.
But dude, one of the things that every time that my wife and I achieve unlock another level of in the journey of success or anything else, it always comes back that like the folks that are the most successful, they just they run towards the biggest problems.
Yeah.
Everybody else spends their time avoiding problems, and literally, like, you're staring. I mean, all right, dude. So I'm gonna tell something I've never said before. Okay, so when I was I got a speeding ticket years ago, and court was due. My traffic court was when I was in the hospital and I had my appendix out. All right, so obviously I get out, and I've never said this in public before. So I went to Hillsborough High School here in Nashville, and when I was a freshman, the senior catcher was a guy named Pooh. And I heard a knock on my door at 7 a.m. one morning, not long after I had to get out of the hospital. And it was Pooh, and he was a police officer, and he was at my front door. And I was like, "What's up, man?" He goes, "Dude, I heard your name come over the radio. I got to take you in." And I was like, "For what?" So they took me in, booked me. It's all been expunged and everything, but this was over missing traffic court. It was funny because everybody was like, what'd you do to make this judge mad or whatever? I was like, I don't know. Like, I didn't know what was going on.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is I spent 12 hours, not free. It was the scariest 12 hours ever.
Yep.
All right. And I was like, I can never do that again. So you're literally staring 8 years in the face, right? So you just ran right at those problems.
Yeah, it was,
What were your parents saying during that?
Oh, it was so brutal, man, for them. I thought, it was really hard on them because their son, who had done a lot of good things, made a giant mistake. And I was guilty of everything, no excuses. It was all on me. And, that was the hardest part was, their disappointment and then seeing them go through their pain because of what I did. Mm-hmm. And so, but they were supportive, very supportive. My dad took my dad was, I say hard on me, but he was pretty hard on me in a positive ways, but he took actually a very soft approach, which was what I needed at the time because I felt so bad about everything that happened. And, but they were, they were awesome as always,
Dude, it's absolutely incredible. You've been, I feel like anytime I get on Instagram, I'm hearing Joe Rogan talk about Ed Clay, right? So you guys are doing a lot of stuff. You just got a major deal with the UFC.
Yeah.
Right? Talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we're the official stem cell provider of the UFC.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It was a big deal. We signed it in March, and we basically, sponsor the events. They send a lot of fighters to us. We have a lot of UFC fighters that come to us. Mm-hmm. And it really kind of puts stem cells on the map because what we do is different than, a lot of other people. We do have, I believe, the best cell that's available to humans at this point. I mean, there's stuff in the horizon that's going to be even better, but we grow our cells different in what's called a hypoxic environment. It's a low oxygen environment, makes them last longer, live longer, and grow better. And, we've been treating UFC fighters for 2.5 years. We've had a lot of fighters come through, and we prevent a lot of surgeries. We prevented, some people from retiring and those type of things. So it's really great for the fighters. We have an overall, approach to get people healthy, and fighters leave there better consistently. It doesn't always work. There's nothing 100%, but
sure.
We're going to be publishing here pretty soon a paper on herniated discs. And we're about 75% success rate in treating the herniations and keeping people from surgery. So pretty happy with that.
Surgery's supposed to be the last resort, right?
It should be.
Yeah.
I would always do stem cells before any type of surgery for, shoulder or herniated disc or knee injury.
Yeah. So let's, you hear a lot about stem cells. I feel like it's a misused word right now, right? So let's dumb it down a little bit and speak on the everyman's level, right?
Sure.
So for those, like for instance, in my 40s, I decided I wasn't going to be a fat slob anymore. Need to get better, right? But dude, I've got some aggressive arthritis in my back from baseball and all that stuff. So like, it's something that I've entertained, but I don't even know enough about it, right? So who is the who is the avatar of somebody that should look at stem cells? What's like the most normal like uses for it for cures?
Yeah, I would say anybody who's facing surgery for an injury, I think should look at stem cells first. Herniated disc, it's a huge problem. A lot of people with back and neck problems, and we deal with those every single week, and we're generally successful in treating them. If you have a torn labrum, for instance, I would do stem cells before a torn labrum. We actually grew back Eddie Bravo's labrum, which was amazing. Yeah, he was going to have surgery, and it took about 4 months. We tell people different than a lot of other places where we have them take 3 months off, and do physical therapy in between there and not get back too soon, because if you're growing back tissue, it needs time to grow. It's just not going to happen overnight.
Right.
And so our cells are very potent in the sense that, when you get an injection, it hurts. You're going to be sore for a couple weeks, and you got to ease back into it. But the results are really incredible. The difference, like for instance, in the United States, what you can get and what you can get in Mexico or say Panama or Colombia, is in the U.S. you're not allowed to expand stem cells. So like when you see somebody doing stem cells in America, let's say they give you 2 cc's of what's called wart jelly, right? There's only about 1% of that wart jelly that's actually mesenchymal stem cells. And so I'm like, well, it's really not a stem cell product. Like if you had orange juice and it had 1% orange juice, you wouldn't call it orange juice. But when you get 10 million, 20 million, 100 million stem cells from us, it's all mesenchymal stem cells.
Right.
So that's the big difference of what you can get in America and then what we do. And then the big difference in what we do and what everybody else does is how we grow our cells in a hypoxic environment. And we use a human lysate rather than an animal lysate. Some people are moving away from the bovine lysate, but that's another big difference as well.
Gotcha. So as far as like, future stuff, right? So you guys are kind of leading, I guess, the world in innovation with this stuff, right?
Yes.
Which is just crazy.
It's wild. We're the largest manufacturer of stem cells in the world.
Bro,
So.
That's incredible, man.
Thanks.
So you guys are again, you started out as cancer research, went into this stuff. Talk to me a little bit about so genomics are a part of the future, and also that would lead kind of to the documentary Hope in Tijuana, right? So,
Yes.
So talk to me about the genomics and what you guys are doing there, and kind of lead that into the documentary.
Yeah, so for 2 years, we started in November of 2022. We've been renovating our hospital, all 6 floors, and we have 2 floors left. The 2 floors are probably that are left, probably 80% done.
Okay.
But we built a new floor, 6th floor to the hospital, that has a cellular manufacturing lab, genomics lab, proteomics, optical genome mapping, and the idea was if we could build the best lab in the world for solid tumor cancers, what would we do? How would we build it? That was how we built this. So, for instance, you go to MD Anderson or Sloan Kettering, great places, but their tests, their gene panel test for tumors, the largest one they have is about 600 genes. Ours is 1,021. It's almost double what you can get in America. We also do what's called whole exome sequencing as standard care, which is the 20 to 22,000 coding regions in the genome. So you get the targeted panel, but you also get a broader panel as well. And we also have redundancy to make sure each test is accurate. We do something called optical genome mapping, where we map the genome of the tumor to find even more targets of what's called structural variations. We look at the cytokines in the immune system of the patient too, to see how the patient's responding to those. We have digital pathology, where we take a piece of the tumor and we digitize it, and then we can map it with AI. And so we use AI combined with the pathologist to get an even better result for the patient, better diagnosis for the patient. Whereas if you send your tumor off for testing in America, it could take between 2 and 6 weeks. You're going to get results back from us in as little as 48 hours, but no longer than 5 days, along with the biopsy, the digital pathology. So we put all of those together and put it in a report that's understandable, and it shows you all the clinical trials in America, shows you off-label approved drugs, shows you on-label approved drugs, and then we have our selection as well that adds to that. So it's really a comprehensive approach that allows us to give patients the best possible information they could have for the cancer. Because, in this time, there's a lot of great treatments coming out in the United States even. But if you don't know that there's a target on there that matches that treatment, you wouldn't know that the treatment's available for you. So we really wanted to focus with where can we be the best at? And it wasn't treatments at the time, because so much has evolved. 9 years ago, I would say that we had a lot of better options for immunotherapy in Mexico than was in the United States, but not anymore. Right now, the United States, they've approved a lot of these immunotherapies for cancer. So where we thought we could make the biggest impact in the short term was the diagnostics. And so that's why we built it that way. We have a cellular manufacturing lab, though, that we will be making the next generation therapies in the next 2 to 3 years. We want to have some just blockbusters we can get in patients so much faster because of the licensing, that it gives us a competitive advantage over all these other biotechs that are out there, all the pharmas in the US, because we can get into patients fast. And we generally know, because of immunotherapies, how safe it's going to be. They're not as dangerous as blowing somebody up with chemo. And we're actually engineering our cellular therapies to have a kill switch, to where if they're having an severe adverse event, we can give them a pill and it shuts off that immune response too. So that's how we're designing these next generation treatments as well. So I think what we're about to come out with in the next few years is going to be pretty epic.
No doubt. Talk to me. Take that right into the documentary. I saw a trailer for it today. It looks absolutely incredible, dude.
Yeah, it's really exciting. My friend Nick Nanton, he actually did the Operation Underground Railroad documentary, the one in Haiti.
Yep.
That was Nick, and he's been a longtime friend. And I hit him up and said, "Hey, would you be interested in starting to film us? I don't know what's going to happen, but I think something amazing is going to happen here in the future." And so he's followed us for 6 years, and traveling around. We were launching something called United Cancer Centers in 2019 and 2020. We went for the fundraise 2019, 2020. And we were going to be the first institution to implement the right to try legislation that Trump signed in. And so we built an amazing team for that. And we're going gung-ho, raising $100 million. And the fundraise fell flat on its face when COVID happened. So all of that hard work, the roadshow that we did, just stopped when COVID happened. And so we gave all the investors their money back, and pivoted to Mexico to put that model in Mexico. We could actually do a lot more in Mexico. So the documentary takes you through all of that, where we're at the hospital, when we decide to do United Cancer Centers, the legislation gets passed, where we're going to Thailand and going all over the world, doing the fundraise, when COVID happens, after when we start our stem cell operation, showing the stem cell operation becoming the largest in the world, and finishing with the renovation, pretty much done. So they did a great job, about 90 minutes long, tells the story really well. It's a lot of information that they had to pack into 90 minutes.
That's right.
And the team, Nick and Katie, did an amazing job, and I'm really excited about it coming out.
I feel like that's what we're having to do today. Is there's so much information to cram in such a short amount of time.
Yeah.
It looked some of the stuff that really stuck out to me the most was the when you heard from the people whose lives you actually saved. So, dude, everything that you've done, I mean, if just one life was saved, it was worth it, right?
Yes, it is. Yes.
It's a beautiful thing what you're doing, providing hope in hopeless.
Yeah, thank you.
Right, and all right, folks. Again, check this out. So, starting a business it's not hard, but people make it hard. Okay. Starting a business in healthcare is extremely hard, and starting a business in another country is extremely hard. And you knocked out 2 of them, right, in a row. So, again, I want you to literally those folks that are fighting for all the reasons they can't be successful in starting whatever it is they want to do. God only made one of you, right? And Ed's a perfect example of that. You are most powerfully equipped and you're most powerfully positioned and uniquely qualified to serve the person that you used to be.
Yep.
Right. So again, all this started because of something with your mom, right?
That's right.
So, and now look where it's taking you today.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and the thing is, if you're going to be an entrepreneur, you got to have a belief in yourself, and you can't listen to the naysayers. They'll try to give you all the reasons why you can't do something. But you just got to block it out. And a lot of them are well-intended. They want the best for you. Most people do, at least.
They're protecting you.
Yeah, they're just protecting you. And, but, this sounds simple, but most people fail because they quit too soon. Yeah, they just quit too soon. Like, if you would have there's so many times where we could have quit, Nick.
Yeah, yeah.
And we just didn't. Just fight. You got to fight. And you got to, especially if you're going for something big, like you can't hold yourself short and you got to give it the best possible chance to succeed. And that doesn't mean sometimes people will fail. I mean, we've had a lot of failures in between.
Well, that was where I was going with that. Because like you mentioned just a couple of them. I mean, COVID, for goodness sakes, a whole bunch of bumps in the road you didn't expect. But like, again, you're running right towards those failures, eyes and heart wide open. But like you said the magic word to me, which was like, you can't quit, you finish.
Yes.
A finisher and a quitter look a lot alike. You know what I'm saying? They look a lot alike. I didn't quit my baseball career. I finished. That's why I'm happy with where I left it. Yeah. Was it where I wanted to get to? No, but that's as far as I got, and I was finished.
Yep.
Right. So that's probably like one of the most powerful things you've said today for me, for those young entrepreneurs especially. It was like, dude, like, and I don't think you'll ever be criticized by somebody doing more than you either.
Yeah, no, that's true. And you made me think about a time where we almost, were having to finish. Although I'm not sure I would have thought it was finished. During COVID, this is probably January 2021. Okay. People were more afraid of COVID than they were of their metastatic cancer that was for sure to kill them. And so, I mean, it was just so
crazy. Tough.
And, we were starting the stem cell thing. We had an offer at the time for $14.9 million, a buyout. And we didn't really want to do it, but we were out of money. And so, we said, okay, well, if we don't hit this mark in 2 weeks, we gotta, we just don't have, we're going to make a drastic change. We either sell it or, sell a portion. And so Scotty and Dedrick and I were like at our house. We all give each other a hug and just go in and charge for the next 2 weeks. And within that 2 weeks, we were able to turn it around. But, that was a time where, there's been many times like that. That was the closest to where like, okay, we were looking for another option because it might not work. That was the only time that's happened. But it was close, and we said our prayers, and God's figured all this out, man. Yeah. I mean, really, every obstacle that we faced, I look now as really a blessing. He throws these things at us at the time. We're like, God, why are you putting this in front of us? What's going on here? Yeah. And, I can look back at all of them and I realize why it was put in front of us. It's like, you taught me this lesson. You taught me that lesson. You brought me closer to you. Yeah. And that's, and now what we do, it's a lot bigger now. So there's a lot of stress that goes with it. Yeah. But I wouldn't be able to operate if I didn't have faith. If I didn't have, God to lean on. And so I realized that all the struggles have got me to a point where that's what I lean on.
That's right. It was the day that my wife and I got married. I tell this story a lot. The pastor that married us, how they turn you around and he's behind you. Then you walk out the center aisle. So somehow he beat us to the outside. And he was just like, he gave us a hug, said congratulations. And he said, the most important thing that I'm going to tell you is right now. And I was like, more important than what just happened in there? And he said, yeah, man. Like, so again, you guys, because it was a shotgun thing. We had joined the church is what we had done. We had joined a church, and I was just, I hadn't married her yet. And that was my chance to do it. So we did it right there, shotgun style. My son watched.
Oh, wow.
But he said, we got out there and he said, dude, like there's two sides of this story. And the bad side, the evil side, is not happy with the decision you just made, and it's going to do everything it can to detour your focus and draw you back, right? So they call them growing pains for a reason, right? So doesn't all growth hurt?
Yep.
Isn't it all painful?
Yeah.
Like think about it as an athlete. You train, you inflict pain so that you can go out and have the results that you want later, right?
That's
so
right.
Why don't we associate that with business and life, do you think?
I don't know. I think that people should. I definitely do. You hit the nail on the head, man. I mean, I heard Nito Quabin say, the only person that welcomes change is a baby in wet diapers.
That's right.
And the only time meaningful change occurs is when the pain of remaining the same is greater than the pain of changing. And you think about that. I mean, when meaningful change occurs, it's just so painful living this way and dealing with this. And this is people that could be out there listening They might have obstacles, but until you're really ready to change, that's when the meaningful change occurs. And I think people are afraid of change. People are afraid of pivoting because it looks a certain way.
Yeah.
And we can't really care how things look. If people were on the inside seeing all the stuff that's happened with our company, they'd be like, it looks smooth on top, but I always say I'm a duck underwater just pedaling away, trying to. And but that's okay. And I think people get concerned with how things look when ultimately what matters is their result in the end.
Come on.
And I definitely agree with you,
dude. It's crazy. We run from that pain, but that growth is where all the gifts lie, man. That's what I mean? Like, again, when you take on something you've never done before, you literally, like, when you've taken it on, now you have it. That's like owning a new skill, man. Like, it literally is owning a new skill.
The Hitstreak is powered by our partners at HitLab Creative Studios. Whether it's launching your brand new podcast, rebranding your current podcast, or taking advantage of any of their other content packages specifically for your social media needs, the HitLab is a one-stop shop for you. Visit hitlabstudio.com for more.
I want to, we got an expert here. All right. So the world, like Abraham Lincoln said, a house divided will not stand. All right. And I remind myself of that every single day. And with the, we don't do a lot of politics on this show, but we've got, again, when we're talking about healthcare and all that stuff, it's a very political topic, right? So I'd be a fool if we didn't get your 2 cents on some stuff. Okay. All right. So first of all, let's see, how do I lead into this right now? All right. So, well, let's just start with we went through COVID, all right, and the vaccine thing was a huge thing. So my wife and I, we like to, we take a lot of vitamins. We like to self-heal, and we're not big. I think medicine totally has a place. That's exactly what I think it is. It has a place, but it's not a solution for everything. As a matter of fact, if I can heal and not use it, I think that's better.
That's better, yep.
Right? So what are some of the most just common misconceptions, and then we'll take it as far as you want to go with it.
Common misconceptions with
let's just start with a vaccine, and because I guess that would bleed over into cancer research and everything, right? So because what I've just from following you, what you're doing against cancer and everything else, it totally goes against everything that I thought I knew about it.
Yeah. So, with the vaccine for COVID specifically, I was against, the mass use of the mRNA. Got, pretty good knowledge with mRNA. Been looking at it for our cancer vaccines for a long time. Basically, they wrap a code in a what's called a lipid nanoparticle, and then the ribosome decodes it per se. And I think it's good technology for cancer vaccines. Let's say somebody has metastatic cancer, not a whole lot of options because, there are risks of certain side effects, but they're going to die if they don't try. So that's kind of where we were at with mRNA, in my opinion, and to put it, out there to the world without rigorous long-term clinical trials, I thought was insane. And I spoke out. I was considered an anti-vaxxer, but we own a cancer vaccine.
That's right.
And I wasn't. I thought that the vaccine was good for my parents. They were older, pre-existing conditions, et cetera. And we made a choice as a family. I didn't take it. My brother didn't take it. My brother, I believe, had already had COVID by the time it came out. They were, the messaging on natural immunity. I was so upset at the lies because, people, they were saying trust science. They gave science a bad name because they're really saying trust public health.
Right.
Public health is not science. It's a whole other category. And so it's public health is messaging to get people to do what, the public health wants them to do. But that's not exactly science. And so I was very disappointed with how it went. I was disappointed that more scientists didn't stand up and speak the truth. They were afraid to. A lot of them got demonized if they did. Doctors did as well. But I don't think that the mRNA vaccine was meant for prime time. I don't think it was meant for 5 billion people.
Right.
I think it's great technology. I think it has a future. I think in many ways it is the future. I think what's called circuit RNA is going to be in there as well. But, I didn't think that kids should should not have taken it. It was not. I appreciated Dr. Hildesbreth from Nashville. He's the head of Meharry, and he was a Rhodes Scholar immunologist, and he was on the board of the FDA that approved the children's vaccine. And I watched that twice. It was 7 hours long. I watched it twice at 2x speed just because I wanted to hear everybody's arguments. And he said on there, that he was approving it not because he thought all kids should do it, I'm paraphrasing here, but because those kids that might need it, let's say pre-existing conditions, et cetera, they should have access to it. But he said, I'm afraid that by passing this, everybody's going to think all the kids need it. And so he spoke the truth in that, local guy from Nashville. But that was my position on it. But it got so polarized where you're either anti-vax or for-vax, and you watched how they changed the message. At first, you couldn't get COVID if you took it. Then you couldn't spread it, and it kept changing. Then it's, there's going to be herd immunity. Now we know that there's no herd immunity. And so I was very disappointed in the messaging of it overall. But I think, for instance, mRNA has a lot of future benefit. I'll probably take some heat for saying that from those that consider my views a little, pushing back against the vaccine side. But I do think it does have a future. I like it for cancer vaccines. I think that we should have focused on overall health.
Right.
Like, let's get out in the sun. They had to stay in the house. Get vitamin D. Get some exercise. We know that pre-existing conditions, caused a much higher death rate. I don't know. Did you know Adam Jones?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, Adam was my best friend, growing up. He died of COVID. I actually told him, hey, you should probably get this vaccine. He was, overweight and smoked. And so, the messaging though, get healthy, get outside. If you have pre-existing conditions, stay away from certain people, instead of, fear.
Yeah.
If you get COVID, your family can't visit you in the hospital. I mean, think about that. You're laying there possibly dying. A lot of people died and you're separated, you're isolated. That's not a normal condition. We're not meant to die alone like that. We're meant to die with our families surrounding us. And guess what? I don't think that many people, or as many people, would have died if they would have had that love. Instead, they had their cortisol levels raised with fear. Even for Adam, we had worked out him getting our stem cells because the license had a clinical trial for COVID that, by the way, everybody under the age of 85 that took the IV stem cells at this clinical trial at the University of Miami got out of the ICU.
Wow.
And the hospital wouldn't allow Adam to get the stem cells. And I do think it would have saved his life. Yeah. And so, I think we have to have, compassion for people with different ideas, but we have to allow, it shouldn't be so polarizing. They shouldn't make me or you bad for just having a different opinion. By the way, I feel like mine's pretty well informed. And so I'm not just some guy spouting out this anti-vax propaganda. It's a nuanced opinion, but they shut off the nuanced opinion. And I think a lot of people died because of that. The focus should have been health. Get healthy, get exercise. How much weight could most people lose in 6 months? I mean, a lot of weight if they get out there.
50 pounds during that time.
There you go. And so I think that should have been the public health message, but it just wasn't.
We had our daughter was born in the mess of all that stuff, right? So literally grandparents couldn't come to the hospital. I think my pastor, Pastor Roger, he may have snuck in somehow. He got in to come hold her and whatnot. But all the grandparents saw her after we got home, which was totally different from the 12 years prior when our son was born. When everybody was there and it was exciting, all that stuff. But even then, just staying in the hospital, being in a hospital during all that time, was crazy. And then we declined all the vaccines on my daughter, and dude, it was really, there was a lot of pressure. It was really uncomfortable, the amount of pressure that we got to give her those, where it was like, we're going to do this. No, we're good. It's on our chart. Remember, we filled all that out and did all that stuff, and they kept coming back. They kept coming back for it, and it really rubbed me the wrong way. And then, my wife has been a godsend, as far as nutrition goes. She's taken ingredients and the stuff that we put in our bodies to a whole nother level, even as an athlete, changed the game for me. But I think you said it best, we focus on health. And, we were on the beach, I guess it was during COVID when all this was going on. And I realized, all these people go to the beach. Why do all these people go to the beach and come back feeling so refreshed? I was like, well, maybe it's because they're barefoot in the soil all day for a week straight up.
That's right.
And they come back grounded and all that kind of stuff. And then they come home and their feet don't touch the earth for the rest of the year.
I think there's something to that. And, food is medicine. You know, part of what we do at the hospital is all organic fruits and vegetables. If they do the protein organic meats, we would go through, because right now we're not treating new cancer patients as the build out is done, just returning. But when we're open for new cancer patients, we average about 500,000 pounds of fresh organic fruits and vegetables a year that we use for the patient. Fresh pressed juice. I've got studies that show that, you know, pressed juice, if drank within an hour, has a ton more phytochemicals than even if something that's set for 6 or 12 hours. I mean, it doesn't mean the juice in the store is bad, by the way. But you know, the quicker you can get it from the press is the best way, not the spin. The quicker you get it, the more nutrients it has. But you know, the idea that food is medicine is real, and you know, we treat people with these pills and these things that, in many times, are unnecessary. Good diet, exercise, meditation. Would fix, you know, I'm just throwing a number out, 80% of the problems out there. And I truly believe that. And I do wish that was the messaging, you know, during COVID, and maybe it can change. You know, there's got to be a way to stop the polarization and welcome other ideas without getting offended.
Right.
And that's the problem I see right now with society. It's sad because we're going down a bad path, I think. And I want somebody like, you know, just kind of shake everybody out of it. Like, guys, we have way more in common than we have against each other.
I think it was Socrates that said basically, like, you know, who said that, or how do they know that? And then, I heard it from so-and-so, and how did they know that? Right. So, you know, one could argue on both sides. Like, you know, there's always good both sides have really smart people, and they can make great, compelling arguments. You know, I think eventually the truth sets you free, and it comes out down the line. What are some of the most common misconceptions? Because again, you know, on your scientific advisory board, you're literally working with. I mentioned the prayer breakfast earlier because we get to talk to like literally world leaders and stuff, and their take on things is totally different than we get here. It's mind-blowing to me. You get to work with them every day.
Yes.
Okay, so most common, like, I don't know, myth-busting, common misconceptions. Like, seriously, man, there's a lot of misinformed stuff going on out there.
Yeah, I think, you know, so on our scientific advisory board, one of the members is Franco Marincola. He's a former chief of immunogenetics for the National Institute of Health, chief of infectious disease and immunogenetics for National Institute of Health. He actually wrote one of the main textbooks oncologists use for immunotherapy for cancer. Michael Liebman, who's also been on the podcast, he was head of bioinformatics for Roche, head of translational medicine for the Pharma Foundation, which is big pharma. Vijay Mahant founded autogenomics. These guys are world leaders in their specific fields. And what I love about our team is we have healthy debates. And, you know, we might not agree on everything, but we respect each other enough. Even my views were different than theirs on COVID. In the way, I mean, we kind of agreed on a lot of it, but in the way that it should be messaged to the public, you know? And that's okay, though. We should be able to have these discussions. It wasn't as black and white, though, as you would see on TV. And I love healthy debate. I love someone bringing something to me that's going to change my mind. That's great. You know, but we have to be open-minded. I think at that level, you know, there's a couple different types in the science field. Some that are just closed off and, you know, not nice people, and then those that are open-minded and love trying to figure things out. And that's who we have on our team. We got a bunch of really brilliant scientists that are super open-minded. We talk about everything, and I love our team. I mean, it's just they're the best.
Why do you think it is, like, being, you know, open-minded? Like, so much of the country is like, I don't know. I think when you get to a certain age, you've put in your time, maybe you want to stop learning new things. You just want to know what you know, and that's what I think retirement's called, when you stop learning, right? Not stop working, when you stop learning. But, you know, as a mass population, I said it earlier, trust is earned, right? Well, when you get that cereal box out of the store, there's an awful lot of trust being put into whoever made that, the grocery store that you got it from, and the person that made it. And it's not the same stuff that, like, Cheerios, maybe it is, but just for instance, I don't think Cheerios or Doritos is the same product it was when we were kids.
Probably not.
You know what I'm saying? But my mom, who's buying stuff for the grandkids, it doesn't even. I don't even think the older population, it's even dawned on them that it's different. Like, you know what I mean? So as things change, as things evolve, I think from a nutrition standpoint, that a lot of the problems that we face today is just because of what we think is a good diet, but it's really poor. There was a girl that we worked with a long time ago in the bar days, in the nightclub days, where I remember when McDonald's came out with the fruit and yogurt parfait the first time.
I think I remember.
Dude, she ate them like candy and thought it was healthy.
Oh gosh.
Oh yeah, I thought it was healthy too. I didn't know. It was healthy stuff,
Yeah.
but what you didn't know is that it was like, I mean, it was just like tablespoons and tablespoons of sugar, fake fruit and everything else at the time, right? So like, I don't know, man. What advice would you have for folks like that have preconceived, or they've got a fixed mindset when it comes to this stuff? I think you got to be open minded to hear. I want to hear both sides. Like, you know, even when people that say, you know, Nick, who do you vote for? I'm like, well, first of all, if I told you. It doesn't matter. Whoever gets elected, I need them to do a good job, because my granddad told me a long time ago, he said, shit rolls downstream. And we're all downstream from whoever's at the top, right? So I was like, regardless of that, I want them to do a good job. Yes. You know what I'm saying? So what advice would you have for folks that have a lot of preconceived notions or fixed mindsets with stuff like this?
Well, I mean, I think some people just like to be told.
Okay.
You know, and those people we might not change.
That's fair.
But those that want, you know, they actually want to search for the truth. They have to listen to different ideas, because we can't think that our ideas are the only ideas that are right.
Come on.
You know, so a few weeks ago during the Bitcoin conference, I had Bobby Kennedy the third and Kyle, who's Justin Trudeau's brother, staying at the house, or staying at the Airbnb across from the house. And, you know, we don't agree on everything, but it's a lot of different ideas. And I love being able to debate these topics, you know, from different angles with people that actually, you know, can back it up. And, you know, if we have a strong feeling about something, I feel like we should know the other side of the debate.
Absolutely.
Just as well.
Yeah.
Because if we don't, we're kind of ignorant. Yeah. You know, if we say, oh, we feel this way about this, but there's another side, and you don't even know the other side. Yeah. Like, we should really, I try to do that with politics, actually anything. I like to know what the other side's argument is and know it well, so I can have a good conversation with them. That's right. And by doing that, then you go to experts and you figure out, you know, what the truth is. And normally it's like somewhere in the middle. So. Absolutely. Well, it's, you know, again, it's, growth happens in uncomfortable places, right? So I don't think you can grow. If you've got a fixed mindset with it comes to information, you can't grow, and all you're feeding yourself is the exact same stuff from the exact same people over and over and over again. And like the more financially blessed that my family has become, the more information we've had access to. And that information is, it's a game changer. Access is incredible if you have the right kind and you have enough of it, right? So, you know, the biggest podcaster on planet Earth is saying your name over and over again on his platform. You've partnered with, I guess, is UFC, they're definitely top 5 in pro sports as far as size and stuff like that by now, right? So they're up there. They're up there, yeah. And you guys are front and center and all that stuff. It's just absolutely incredible. It's wild, man. I do look at it like pinch myself. Like, relationships. Real sometimes. It's all about relationships. Yeah. You know, it really is. And how do you build good relationships? You know, if people trust you and you're, you know, a man of your word, person of your word, and they know that, you know, you're going to do what you say you're going to do, you know, you build those relationships, become, you know, be a good friend. Yeah. You know, that spreads a lot. Like Scotty is one of my business partners. Scotty has more friends than anybody I know. And he went to like 15 different schools in high school, and, you know, had to meet a lot, you know, had to learn how to make friends. And in the MMA industry, he owned a company called OTM, On the Mat. It was just one of the first mixed martial arts jiu-jitsu blogs. He lived in Brazil for like 3 years. And, you know, I've watched him I met him when I was 15 years old. He's about 10 years older than me. We became good friends, and I've watched him, just build relationships. And he would just sponsor. Like, he didn't have a lot of money. Just 20 years ago, he had OTM, but he would just give away so much stuff, sponsor so many people. Oh, you need shorts. Oh, you need shirts, and just taking care of people. And now, our relationships are so strong because I learned from him then to do the same thing with my clothing line. Just give people, the stuff that they need and support them, because eventually it'll come back around to you.
Right.
And I think people underestimate the power of those relationships. And I mean, we have people, the support that we have from our friends over the years, it's why we're successful.
Yeah.
That's really, I mean, we worked really hard too, but if we didn't have our friends supporting us in the very beginning, we wouldn't have made it like this. I mean, if Rogan wouldn't have started talking about us on a regular basis, that was talk about a rocket ship after that. But how did that happen? Eddie Bravo is one of my best friends. He went on Joe's show. We legit, and Eddie wasn't going to talk about it unless it actually worked. He didn't want to do any type of misleading stuff. His shoulder got better. He went on Rogan, and 2 minutes in, they talked about it for like 17 minutes.
Wow.
And that's relationships, though.
Oh, yeah.
And we really helped him.
Oh, yeah.
But, people throw it. And I look back at my 20s, because back when I owned the MMA gym, I was kind of like cutthroat in a way where if people screwed me over or something, I was like, never, I'm just moving on.
That's fact. I do know that about you, for sure.
And, I look back and I don't operate like that anymore. I haven't in a long time. Yeah. But you learn from those mistakes, because you don't want to hurt relationships.
Yeah. You
want more relationships. You want to, and so, that's learning as an entrepreneur. I was very hardcore business before, and now it's like all win-win. Like, how can we create a win-win? I
was the opposite. I was too nice.
I see.
And I was almost a pushover to a certain degree. But you got to be right in the middle.
There's balance.
That's right.
You don't want to get taken advantage of, but you also don't want to close a door too soon. You got to give people grace. That's a big one.
That's right.
We all make mistakes. Man. And so I regret, you're talking about, I won't mention the name here, but a friend from before, I closed that door on him too soon. I can look back and say that, and I do regret that. I would love to mention that to him one day.
It was talent, for sure.
Yeah.
And burning those bridges, like, again, there's, I don't know anybody that actually wins when you burn it down. You know what I mean? Like, because you never know what can come back to you.
The Hitstreak is powered by Team Hyder. Team Hyder has been serving you for 11 years and has racked up over 20 national and local awards for excellence in all areas. When it comes to finding the right health plan, we need to consider your family's needs and your family's budget. That's what we do to serve you. To look further and to book an appointment, visit teamhyder.com.
All right, man. So, we talked about this a little bit, but like, again, you guys are leading the way in innovation. I want to know a little bit more about what you guys are most excited about with some upcoming things. And dude, your show is freaking killing it. I love your show. I absolutely love your show.
Appreciate that.
You've had some incredible people, especially in the world of politics and stuff, on there.
Yeah.
So let me just stay there for a second. So again, I learn every single time I get to sit down with amazing people like you. Okay. How much, like, I didn't realize, like, every dollar that comes in today, I can trace back to the studio that we built when everybody said we were crazy, and the podcast that we launched out of there. Every single dollar, every relationship, I can stem back to that now, just about we're doing a business today. How many episodes have you done on your show now? I should know that because I was listening to one yesterday.
I don't know exactly, but over 40. We started last August.
Yeah. So you're right about that year mark, right? Yep. So that's when it starts to really get good. Who is what's one of the biggest takeaways from having a podcast like that you didn't know, the value you're going to get that you didn't know?
Well, I think it's relationships.
Yeah.
I've got to interview some really cool people and build relationships, and I think there's, like we're talking, there's power in that. So absolutely. I've got a lot of friends now that I didn't have before because they came on the show, and really get to know them and their vision or the things that they went through in life, obstacles and those type of things. And so that's been my biggest takeaway is great relationships from it, and I got new friends.
That's right. That's right. All right. So as far as, especially with stem cell research, we talked about it a little bit, but I want to hit on that for just a minute, just because, again, you guys are leading the way. I feel like people are going to be getting, again, anytime you hear about something, like even something small like a creatine movement, all right, people don't know how to shop necessarily. And then if you don't buy the right thing or the right product from the right company or whatever, then the results aren't right. You got a bad taste in your mouth, and you probably write off something that you shouldn't write off. Again, a year ago, I knew you were doing this stuff, but a year ago, first it was nootropics, then it was NAD, then I started hearing about stem cells, and now I hear about it all the time. Now I know multiple people that have gone down to your place down there in Mexico, came back, and they're like, yeah, it sucked for a minute, but it's life changing, right? So the folks out there listening right now, they're like, maybe I should entertain that. Like, what are you most excited about in the future? And then who do you think that'll serve the most?
Well, on the stem cell side, anybody who has an injury, herniated disc, torn labrum, messed up shoulder, that's what the mesenchymal stem cells do best at.
So it's mostly like joint.
Yes, that's what. Yes, now I said that's what they do best at. That's what we're known for. That's what we do best at so far.
Okay.
But with IV stem cells, about 50% of IV stem cells, intravenous stem cells, go to the lungs. So my dad's emphysema went away. That gives you an example. Now I can't say that's going to happen for everybody.
Sure.
We didn't expect that.
Right.
We have treated people with COPD and done really well. You think about it, the stem cells go directly to the lungs, and you've got damaged lungs. You might get a really good result from that. My girlfriend's dad had 2 heart attacks. We got the other side of the heart to start pumping in 6 months again. So he got actually movement in that. I don't know the anatomy or the technical terms of the heart to say exactly what happened, but he was blown away. He was a U.S. attorney, and he definitely wasn't skeptical, but didn't have any idea the effects. But when it happened, or when he got the results, he's like, this is amazing. And so but anybody who has an injury, I think, should look at stem cells before they do surgery. I would not do surgery before I did stem cells.
Got it.
There's no way.
What about like young athletes? They have knee probs, knee scopes, stuff like that.
Yes, they should look at getting injected for sure.
Got it.
Yeah, even right after surgery, to accelerate the healing. We do a lot of that. We treat a lot of NFL guys. We do NFL, Major League Baseball, UFC. I mean,
absolutely.
You name it, they come in, and we do a lot of stuff post surgery as well. Because if there's a tear completely through, we can't get the stem cells to grow back the tear if there's nothing still connected.
Yeah.
So we do post surgery stuff as well.
Got it. I saw it was a few years ago. Actually, somehow I bumped into a guy that had gone and gotten cancer treatments from me. I can't remember his name, but he showed me a picture and his neck. And dude, his neck was like, it stuck out like it looked like it was bigger than a baseball. It looked like a softball on the side of his neck. And I can't remember how long he spent with you guys, but then when I was looking at him, it was gone. It was totally gone. And I guess the news that he had gotten here in the States was that it's just, this is the time you got left.
Yeah.
Type thing. Like how in the world did we get there? Like how do we get there? One, but like two, like he's here and he drives 30 miles south below the border or whatever it is. And that can happen. Right. So that was, and I want to say that was years ago, man. But it changed. Something changed me when it just made me awake. It made me look.
It's something new.
Yeah.
I think the treatments in the U.S. are pretty darn good now.
Okay.
Like just the last 5 years, we made a lot of headway in immunotherapy. And so before that, pre-2018, what's called checkpoint inhibitors, or the immunotherapy for cancer, or the most common one. They won a Nobel Prize in 2018, and that's when the oncologists really started using them a lot more.
Got it.
And so I think we're seeing a better response now than ever. We also have targeted therapies from using people's genomics and targeted therapies, based on what that says. So we're getting better and better results. Generally, the patients with the neck tumors are a squamous cell. We're really good at getting that to go down and extend life. We're not very good at curing that. And so sometimes it's a lymphoma, good with lymphoma. But so, and I always say that too. For most of the cancers, we're really good at extending life and giving a better quality of life. We're not very good at curing. And so that's what we've done in the past. And I don't like to claim, now there have been people that have been cured.
Sure.
But I would in no way say that we cure a lot of cancer, because it's just not true. I think but we generally extend life and give people a much better quality of life. And, with the new renovation and our new capabilities, that's going to be the next, we're going to be curing cancer within 5 years, like consistently.
Wow.
I know that.
Okay.
And my goal, our team's goal is 2/3 of solid tumors we're curing in 5 years.
Wow.
That's a wild goal. I'm not saying we're going to hit it, but that is what we're going for. And I think it's possible because of our capabilities. We have such great scientists that are engineering these cellular therapies that are next generation therapies. And because we can do them in humans faster, what would take somebody 10 years to get into humans, we can do within 6 months. And so right now we're in the phase, we're creating 3 cancer vaccines right now that aren't, they're not going to be like a giant curative therapy, but that's going to be like our base. And then that'll kind of hold us over for a while and the next 6 months, we're going to pick the 2 or 3 other treatments that we go for that are going to be moonshots.
Got it.
And we brought in some of the best scientists in the world that engineer these cells to do that. And so that's what I'm majorly focused and passionate about. But overall, I think the treatments in America are pretty darn good right now. They've made, the last 6 years really have been a game changer in cancer treatment in the United States. And, I appreciate the scientists, because 15 years ago, immunotherapy was considered quackery.
Yeah, that's crazy to me.
And now it's mainstream, won a Nobel Prize. So won 2 Nobel Prizes, one in 2011, one in 2018. And so now we're finally seeing, these treatments on the forefront. And that's what CHIPSA, which is now it's TAM Center, but that's what CHIPSA did for 40 years. They did immunotherapy. So
got it. Dude, that's incredible, man. Let me make sure I got everything. I get captivated, folks. I get captivated with this stuff right here. So, just for fun, as a, just for fun, what are your thoughts on the upcoming election?
Oh, well, I wish Kamala would do interviews. Like, she hasn't done one interview. So
not when we're sitting here filming this today, she hasn't yet,
no,
right?
Not yet. So I'd like to see her answer some tough questions about what her policy changes are. I'm concerned with the border. I'm all for legal immigration. I'm all for helping people that are really in a bad situation. But, we've had about 20 million people enter the last 3 years, 3.5 years. And the difference now, it's not as many people from Mexico. It's, a lot of other countries. And it's a lot of military-aged men. And that really concerns me. And I think we have to take it serious, because if not, we could be just letting a lot of terrorists in, those type of things. And Kamala was in charge of the border. I want to hear what her answer was on that. Like, what's your, legitimately? Now, hopefully we can get it out. I think Trump is exhausting to me. He exhausts me with his rhetoric. I wish he would actually try to bring people together. I like a good amount of his policy, but I also know that, right now, Kamala, at least under some polls, is winning, and she's not running on any policy. She's smart. She's running against Trump.
Yeah.
And people hate Trump so bad they would vote for just about anybody else. They were going to vote for Biden, and so I think that I hope we can have at least a conversation in America based off of ideas of both candidates. But I'm not sure. If I were running Kamala's campaign, I probably wouldn't let her do any interviews anyway. Just let Trump.
That's right.
Blow it.
Oh yeah. Sometimes you can just let your opponent beat themselves in sports, and that seems to be the play over there, right?
Yeah.
So it's just there's got to be a way. Again, it's the United States of America, and I feel like we're anything but. And again, when you leave a door open, you leave it open to just about anything to come in, man. And it ain't that hard to figure out if there's a border that's open. It doesn't matter anywhere from in the world. That's where they're gonna flock to.
Yeah, and we're the land of possibility.
Yeah.
People that grow up here, if you were to read the media or see what they tell you in schools, it's like such a tough place. I've lived in 4 countries. America has more opportunity.
Yeah.
Than anywhere by far. It's so easy to start a business in the United States.
Yeah.
It's easy here. I mean, opportunity. Why is it that an immigrant that comes here is 4 times more likely to become a millionaire than someone who was born here?
It's crazy.
It's because they see the opportunity. That's what I was saying about the wording that we use to people, calling them marginalized or oppressed or all these things. If they believe that, they're going to be that.
That's
but
correct.
people that are moving here from other countries, they see the opportunity. They're like, whoa, it was way harder in my country. You mean I can just go and drive an Uber and make all this money? I can work as many hours as I want. I can decide here. You see the opportunity in that. But people that are born here, they're told how tough it is or how this is against them or that. I don't believe any of it.
Yeah.
I think that rhetoric in many ways is meant to hold people down.
Yeah.
I mean, if I would have believed all the people telling me I can't do everything growing up, or, now you're a convicted felon, you can't do it. Because I had a lot against me.
Sure.
But I don't believe it. I think we have to take those as opportunities. And so that's what I really wish the politicians would talk to the kids in that way. Like, hey, you're not marginalized. The world is not against you. It's for you. You live in America. You're advantaged just by being born here. This is a huge advantage.
That's right.
And, so that's kind of the messaging that I wish that we would be seeing right now in the election and talking about these issues. Kamala doing interviews, real debate, instead of name calling constantly and just the divisive politics. I look at Trump as the divider in chief. That's what I called him his first 4 years. Like a lot of his policies, divider in chief. You're just dividing people, dude.
Yeah.
And but now we're in this position where I'm afraid the other side's policies will take us down so bad. I am supporting him now.
Yep. It's it was. First of all, again, with the prayer breakfast, we get to speak to people from all over the world. And again, the American dream is still alive everywhere else.
Yes.
And they come here and their eyes are so big and they're just, all the things we take for granted are what they're praying for. You know what I mean? And I think it was Myron Golden, I heard him talk about super fans on sports teams. All right. And he was basically he was saying, your team, Brad and I were at a Titans game last year, and we watched people almost getting fights over these are people over a football game. And I told Brad, I'm like, man, some of those guys' day just got ruined. Ain't that a shame? He was like, what do you mean? I'm like, that game meant so much. That game meant more to them than the rest of their life did, their family or whatever else. They got too much stock in it. And Myron Golden said, when you're watching that team, are you watching it basically he said, they're your team, but are you their team? They don't care if you lose today. So why do you care more about their wins and losses versus your own type thing? And I feel like that's where we are with politics.
Yeah.
I feel like some folks, if you took half of that energy and re-aimed it and reinvested it into something else that you're doing, maybe God's kingdom or something like that, where would we be at today if that was what we were focusing on?
Yeah.
Well, Ed, dude, any we've been here for a minute. There's so many things. I'm going to bring you back as many times as I can get you back on, brother.
Anytime.
But is there any final thoughts or anything like that you want to leave for everybody today? Or
no, man, I just appreciate you inviting me on the podcast. It's fun to get to catch up with you, and I hope we haven't really seen each other a whole lot over the years. Hope we can start hanging out some.
The Hitstreak is powered by Rack Financial. When it comes to your credit card merchant processing, Rack Financial is efficient, reliable, and trusted. At the end of the day, when it comes to processing your credit card payments, they make it simple, the way it's supposed to be. Check out Rack Financial.
Well, dude, like I say, I remember in fourth grade, you broke every bone in your body, bro. I swear. I don't remember how. Football was a lot of it.
Football. Yes.
But at one point in time, you had 2 casts on 2 arms. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And I want to say there was one on your leg, too.
There was one on my ankle, one on my arm, and one on my finger on this side.
It was crazy. It was crazy.
And the what is it? The child services thought my parents were beating me.
That's right.
And they weren't.
That's right. That's right.
So they came in and it's like, no, I was on the playground here, and I was on this practice here, and I was,
That's right.
you know, my parents weren't even there 3 of the time. So
That's right. Well, it's crazy to know. And again, you mentioned the troubles you had as a young man. Well, again, as a teenager, there's not a lot of ways to make a lot of money. That's right. At least it wasn't back then. You know, so
Nashville, man.
So you did what you could, and you're like, "There's got to be more," and you tried the other thing, right? So it was an entrepreneur spirit at the end of the day.
That's right.
At the end of the day. So, well, dude, thanks so much for the hang today. Congratulations on everything, man. Seriously, it's been fun. It's been fun to watch somebody that I literally grew up with. And folks, it doesn't matter anything you do. Like my sister and I grew up in the same house, and we're in 2 totally different places in life. Ed and I grew up in the same elementary schools together, and like literally look at what he was doing, stuff in his 20s and 30s that I hadn't even figured out, like, you know, basics about economics or anything, money or anything like that into my 40s. So one, it's never too late to start.
I learned on the job. I didn't really know when I was doing it.
Yeah.
Quite honestly. It's like
Well,
trial and error.
Well, it's been fun to watch, and like seriously, congratulations on everything, man.
Appreciate you.
Well, folks, we've been hanging with Ed Clay. Keep up with them online. CPIStemcells.com, EdClayShow.com, on Instagram at EdClayOfficial and Ed Clay Show. Folks, thanks again for tuning in to another episode of The Hitstreak. I am your man, Nick Hyder. God bless.